Yeah.
Yeah, well, that means there's no pass-by. You don't do that then. That's we've got a penalty for the 62 car. Engine still running whilst they were refueling.
Oh my goodness.
60.
Oh my goodness.
Not 062.
62, right.
62. Yeah, that's the I knew this would catch us out at some stage.
Yeah,
that is the CRS Racing Ferrari that we were talking about earlier on. Fifth caution of the day here at Sebring. And it looks like Brian Wong is under tow, but we do have the Jaguar safety car out again.
It's the car that led GT Challenge early on, of course. So it's Duncan Ender who now leads in GT Challenge in the TRG, the Racers Group 066 car. Second place in GTC is the 077. That's Magnus Racing Matthew Marsh at the wheel.
Well, problems for that Porsche. Pat Long with problems earlier on. And we'll go to Pat now as he explains one of the very, very important parts of motor racing. They're not just the black things on the corner, they're part of the performance equation.
Now, we all know how huge tires are in endurance racing, and the partnership between Michelin and Porsche goes a long way back, not only on the racetrack, but in the street tires. Now, the confidential Michelin race tire that we're on in the ALMS and at Le Mans every year carries the latest technology and innovations. The really cool part is we have a Michelin engineer who's dedicated to our team from the beginning of the weekend to the end. He's collecting all the data and all the feedback from the drivers that he can take Monday morning to the office and turn into the latest technology on the road. Now, with me is Doug Brown from Michelin. Doug, I want to know, what's the skinny on this latest tire?
Patrick, the Michelin Pilot Supersport is the greatest performing street tire on the planet. It's born from endurance racing, and actually from that, you helped develop this tire. And with the race tires we developed, we have the same kind of technologies in the street tires to give you better endurance and better balance and performance overall.
Now, my curious mind always wants to know what goes into the tire. They won't tell me, but after 12 consecutive wins here in Sebring, I trust it's the good stuff.
Patrick Long, I'm very envious of him. Not only can he drive cars, prototypes and GTC, but he's trying to take our jobs from us as well, standing up and talking into microphones. The Alex Job Racing 023 battery tender GTC car has brought out this fifth caution here at Sebring. It's gone back into the pit lane, and Jamie Howe can tell us what's the problem.
Well, right now, the team does not know what the problem is with the Alex Job Racing number 023. They've got the tow back to pit lane. The car just stopped out on track. I checked in with Alex Job. They said they're going to have to take the car back into the paddock and take a look at it. Right now, they're performing service on it. They went ahead and put some fuel in it. In the new set, in the set of tires, they are going to push it back to the paddock, though. He said it could be the master switch. We're just not sure. Remember, the GT Challenge class and the LMPC Challenge classes, they're the ones that do not run with live telemetry. So the crew doesn't have a chance to monitor what's going on the cars until they come back in the pit lane and they can plug into the computer system. So right now, Alex Job Racing hard at work trying to get this car back out.
Jamie Howe standing behind the 023 battery tender car and the spiffy new Oakley fire suits for ESPN3.com. Loving the red and white, but as a Sunderland man, you'd expect me to say that, wouldn't you? As out goes the 023. I think that will carry on straight onto the circuit. I don't think we'll see that turn hard right. So here's how it sits behind the safety car. The one of Timo Bernhard that we on board at the moment is 12th overall, 9th in the P1 category, and has got a couple of LMPC cars just a lap ahead of it. So Timo Bernhard should be able to overhaul them within the next 10 minutes or so. But at the head of the field, it's Pedro Lamy with Dindo Capello sitting right in behind him, and I think Marc Genet is only one car. In fact, he may even be right behind Dindo as well. Simon Pagenaud, this has worked out nicely for Highcroft, hasn't it, Jeremy? The 0-1 car in fourth position is sitting there in line, and you know what? They've done exactly what you would have said at the start of the race. If you'd sat with Duncan and said, what's your tactics for this, or Rob here, what would they said? Say, stay with the leaders, stay on the lead lap, and see what we can get done in the last hour or 2 hours of the race. Let's go back down to Jamie, who has the diagnosis on that dead stick Alex Job Racing Porsche.
Well, fortunately enough for Alex Job Racing, their issue was a simple one. All that happened was at some point Brian Wong accidentally, or something in the car accidentally accidentally hit the power switch. Didn't know it, brought the car back to pit lane. As I said, it was towed back into the pits. Crew put the fuel in it, put on a new set of tires, reignited the car, and is out and underway with no issue.
It is so bumpy here that is not as stupid as it sounds. I mean, it sounds like a fundamental error, doesn't it, by the driver? But you're bouncing around so much that it is possible to inadvertently knock something. And let's be honest, Nigel Mansell did it when he could have been winning the Formula 1 World Championship in Canada a few years ago, knocked off a master switch on a car. So if Nigel can do it, I think we'll forgive Brian that one. Some more penalties coming for pit lane infractions. The 005, the Core Racing LMP C car. Again, I'll tell you now that the guys in the pit lane do not hand out these penalties lightly, and where its safety is concerned, they'll give them an advisory rather than let them break the law. And then, for example, if it was something like a visor knocked down, they'll slap the visor down the first time, but you'll only get one warning. So these guys are learning the hard way about multiple transgressions down there in the pit lane. Dindo Capello then, with Pedro Lamy ahead of him as the pits are open for anyone who wants to come in. Remember, this is within 15 minutes of the last caution, so there's no split pit lane opening for prototypes and GT cars. That's why it's open for all. Right, what are you telling Dindo Capello now then, if you're on the Audi pit wall? Are you telling him to get up there and push, or are you telling him to sit in behind him and just keep the headlights in the mirrors?
What am I telling him, or what is Alan McNish telling him? Yeah, there's still an awful long way to go, but you know, there's all sorts of things unfolding in this race.
Yeah, including a game called Follow the Leader. As the cars were coming in, Audi was talking to their driver in the number 2 car, Capello, and said, follow the leader, stay with the leader, do what the leader does. And I can tell you, in Peugeot, they weren't even on the wall at all. They weren't ready to go. Audi, on the other hand, just in case, had everything laid out, ready for a pit stop for both guys if they needed it. But once again, what they told Capello was follow the leader. The leader didn't come in, so they stayed out.
Interesting part of that was, had they come in, Audi would have done fuel only, is what they were telling Dindo. So I think we've answered that question then, haven't we? As Audi have said, stick with the leader, they're basically going to put Dindo right up the exhaust pipes of Pedro Lamy on the restart and push.
One guy did come in right now into the pit lane is Elton Julian in the now second place car in LMP Challenge. That was the 063 car of Genoa Racing. It was leading earlier on. Dane Cameron in the 036, the sister car for Genoa Racing, took over the lead during the previous round of pit stops, and now I think taking the opportunity to top up Elton Julian's car on fuel. Yeah,
nobody near those guys in terms of laps. They are well ahead. They've completed 106 laps, and the next nearest is Henri Richard in the 052 on 103. So we've got 4 hours and 16 minutes completed. It's the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida.
There was a town held captive by an evil gas pump. It fed on people's hard-earned money. But along came the Michelin Man, who reminded them the right tire changes everything. And with fuel-efficient tires in place, that evil gas pump wasn't so evil anymore. Michelin Energy Saver AS tires can help save up to 109 gallons of fuel. Michelin, a better way forward.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
Infettens teamdurchmessen.
Looks like we've got at least one more lap under this caution period as you rejoin us here at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Sebring Florida. Jeremy Shaw and myself, John Hindhaugh, in the booth for ESPN3.com. As we are looking at the Audi pit stop, and Rick is down there. Timo Bernhard in the pits.
Yeah, Timo Bernhard brings the Audi in. This is a frustrating thing for any driver at this point. Because of the earlier problems, the car is down in terms of where they're supposed to be, but they know they need to keep going on, keep continuing, doing as much as they can. They've got to drive the race the way they would be driving it no matter what was going on. As a result, he still has to drive hard. He can't give anything up, but he knows at this point, unless something happens to those leaders, he's not going to do very well at the end of the day, except in the way of points.
Amazing that car's only 6 laps down as the 3-3 car is in. This is the level 5 motorsports car, and this is the car, of course, that Scott Tucker has the leader in P2 that Scott Tucker, the team owner, has nominated as his point scoring car, the bright yellow helmet of Joao Barbosa. Oh, now rear deck coming off that car to the HPD motor. As you can see if you're watching us in HD quality on ESPN3.com, and someone who is doing that at the moment is Derek Daly, and I'd like to say hello to him, being a booth guest with us at Petit Le Mans many times, one of the many people who have texted or emailed us here in the studio to say they're watching online.
And a 2-time winner, of course, of the 12 Hours of Sebring.
Knows how to get it done here, Jeremy, absolutely. Jamie Howe is down by that car, but the back end's gone on relatively quickly. I'm not sure if we've been able to glean any information about why that car has come into the pit lane, but that certainly, Jamie, was not routine.
No, it doesn't look like it was routine at all. Scott Tucker brought the car in, not under power. It was barely just crawling into the pit stall, and it seemed like because the crew couldn't get power to it, they had it all shut off. They took the cover off, they restarted it. It's actually Barbosa behind the wheel right now, and then he had to shut it back off in order to put the fuel in it. Since they were already in, they went ahead and took that splash, but now everything's fine and he's back out and underway.
Yes, that's a tad of a worry for that team, because we are less than halfway through this race at the moment, but it's gone back out again, and it looks to be running relatively well. Now, look down from the Porsche helicopter camera, and that is the first 3 cars in line astern, and already Pedro Lamy is getting the hurry up, and Dindo Capello needs to be right there as the Jaguar pace car pulls off. Safety car pulls off. Green is the call on the radio, and Dindo Capello just tightens his line slightly and gets the hammer down as the 5.5 litre of the Audi pushes on against the 3.7 litre of the Peugeots around him. Indeed, that's the top 4 cars that are together. Simon Pagenaud got a great start there, Jeremy.
And still at the wheel of that car. He took over from David Brabham after the first stint, and he's remained in it ever since, doing a super stint in Simon Pagenaud. Look at him there, pushing all over the back end of that Peugeot going into turn 2.
Well, that's a great restart by Pedro Lamy. Look at what he's pulled out. He's not going to be under any challenge as he comes down to turn number 7. So that means he can at least breathe a little bit. Dindo Capello, on the other hand, is the one who's looking in his mirrors, and he can't now divide. He has to divide his attention between trying to chase the leader down and defend where necessary from Marc Genet, who's in the second of the Peugeot. And in some ways, Jeremy, that's the hardest thing of all when you're trying to do 2 things at once.
Yeah, you're busy out there. The good news is on a restart, particularly when the prototype's at the front of the field, they finally got a bit of clear track for maybe a couple of laps before they come around to start lapping the slowest car to the back of the field. Probably 3 or 4 laps, I suppose, but it's good now, and they're taking advantage of this clear track.
Now, behind Pagenaud, I think, is Guillaume Moreau, in the 6th place car. He's a lap, I think he's just a lap off the lead, isn't he, at the moment in the Oak Racing car. That is that 150 with the orange roll hoop, and he's doing very nicely indeed, and he's got a really good restart. Unfortunately, he's just fallen off the lead lap, and Dindo Capello is trying to hold on to second position. There's going to be a touch here, surely. Yes, there is. Oh my goodness me, that is Mark Genet taking...
Standby, crew on standby.
And that was Houghton Haynes calling the crew on standby, and that is Mark Genet taking Dindo Capello out of the race.
Right rear 0, box this lap.
Well, Jeremy Shaw has a very, very big frown on his face and a furrowed brow there. Genet looks like he's gotten away with that relatively unscathed. There's a right rear puncture to Dindo Capello, and you already heard the Audi team being told what they were expecting. The number that he called out was for parts for the right rear. They have a code. They have a code as to what they think they might need when things are coming on, and they go to a particular part of the pit box to get those. There is the Michelin tyre carcass that was ripped away from the rim.
You know, what's interesting is how we're seeing this. Wow.
Oh, the Peugeot hasn't got off.
We haven't seen these tyre problems. You know, yes, there's contact, but we don't normally see tyres coming apart like we're seeing today, John.
Yeah, very hot out there, of course. Now it's scrambled down in the Peugeot pit and scrambled down in the Audi pit as well. Be interesting to see what Bo Barfield, our race director, makes of that. Dindo seemed to give way and pull out and think he had room. Let's go down to Rick de Bruyl. Rick?
Yeah, first they put the fuel in, now they're going to go ahead and change the tire. The question is whether there was any other damage. At this point in time, they have not seen anything that appears to see like they're looking towards any other bigger problems. It was just the flat tire on the right front. They're looking along now. On the right rear, they're tearing away some of the bodywork. They're looking at some of the issues in the right rear. But they're going to send him back out. Meanwhile, the Peugeot had also come in. I think he had a flat tire as well. And now it looks like he has gone behind the wall, so the Audi gets back out while the Peugeot had to go behind the wall.
And he broke the speed limit on the way in as well, did Mark Genet, so he's going to get pinged.
Yeah, but why's he got behind?
No, he's got stuck. He's asking.
Can't make that turn, can he?
Yeah, and he's asking his team in French for directions. He's
broken a steering arm.
I think he might have, Jeremy. I think that's a very good pick up there. Let's have a look at that front. Oh yes, look at the angle of the front rim. It should be flat or cambered out, and it's cambered back in. Go straight to the tent.
Wow.
And he's going to get pinged at least for a stop-go penalty for his pit lane infraction once he's come back out again, at least. Jeremy, talk us through this coming into the braking area. Dindo goes defensive early on. That's fine for now.
Absolutely right. And Mark Genet there makes a good... He gets to the inside, he lunges down the inside here. And you know, at that point in the road, you've got to kind of turn in. I think Genet there tried to get out of it, didn't he? And then the car got a little bit sideways. He overcorrected, and that's when he took out the Audi of Christensen. So Genet was trying to do the right thing, but he made that decision too late, and I think that was definitely, it was.
Well, if you're going to call
an avoidable accident, I don't know.
Yes. If you're going to call Pat Long's an avoidable accident, that's an avoidable accident. He didn't need to be there. He needs to come out. And watch. Here's Dindo.
Ooh, you can hear that
thud.
Yeah, it's quite an impact between those two, and that was as a result of Genet losing the car over the bumps under braking there, and he kind of overcorrected, and then it just turned sharp left right into the right rear wheel of Dindo Capello.
What I didn't see to start with was the fact that he'd hit that bump, because what I saw was him turning hard left into Dindo, and I thought he'd really just taken him out. Now I'm going to say straight away that's not what happened. Right. That is not what happened. But Dindo, whatever the situation is he's in trouble. Now he's stayed out.
That's ruined the race. I tell you what a shame.
Right, what they've done here, Dindo has come in and replaced the rear tyre that was damaged, and they've sent him straight back out again.
Yep.
There's no full course caution, but he's not up to speed. No full course caution because they both pulled around before the field came around. That's a great call by the officials to keep the race green. But I don't think it's helped their cause, because I've got it absolutely certain that he's coming in, and hearing from the Audis
rebellion coming as well.
Going behind the wall. The two car will go behind the wall.
What a shame. What a shame. that is a major disappointment. I mean, that was a great battle that was looking to develop there between amongst the top 3 or 4, and now 2 of those cars behind the wall.
On the radio, box then tent, box then tent. As he passes the Rebellion car still in along pit lane as well, with Nicolas Prost at the wheel. Well, in fact, he's gone straight. He's gone straight
under the bridge now.
He's gone straight into the
Left and rear suspension, both.
left-hand rear suspension broken. And again, look, you see, Audi have done that again. They've got the little marshalling golf buggy there to make sure that they get a clear run, and also to make sure the driver's got something to follow.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you head up as a driver, you've just had an accident. How the heck are you supposed to remember where your tent is in the paddock? Because it's not something that you normally do. That one of the mechanics.
Fun job, that one. Unfortunately, you don't want to have to do it. Think, oh, didn't know. He knows exactly where the tent
knows where he's going now. There he goes
into
shame, the Audi Sport Team Yost transporter. Hearing from the paddock on the radio from Peugeot that the 7 may have a clutch problem as well. The 7 car, so as it goes through.
Look who's there in second place. Simon Pagenaud. He's not far behind Pedro Lamy in the Peugeot, is he? There goes the Peugeot out of turn 1. You couldn't quite see the Acura behind him here, but we come into turn 3. There is the Acura. It's only a couple of seconds behind him. So Pagenaud and Highcroft Racing, they've done an excellent job. They have played the strategy absolutely right. We've heard Rob Hill on the radio several times. You know, he's on top of the game. Duncan Dayton and all of those guys are always on top of the game. And, you know, they want to be doing a full season of racing. Right now, that's not the program they have. They're doing this race here. They're hopefully going to be doing Le Mans. And we hope that they're going to be doing a lot more than that.
Yeah. Cloud, Silver.
That's a class team, isn't it?
Cloud lining silver, every has here, rearranged into a well-known phrase or saying as far as Highcroft Racing are concerned. On board with Simon Pagenaud, who's just done a phenomenal stint here, as Jeremy mentioned.
These two pulling away from Olivier Panis in third place in the 2010 Peugeot.
Well, this is as quick as we've seen Pagenaud go for some time at 51.4. So, you know, when they've needed to turn the wick up a little bit, when it looked like they were going to go a lap down earlier on, they found a little more pace. Yes, they looked into a full course caution, but they managed to keep the gap before that full course caution came out. It wasn't like they were dropping back inexorably towards the leaders. They ran at a pace that kept them on the lead lap and waited for the caution to come. And, you know, 56 cars, we said it, there are going to be cautions. We'll not be clean and green through the 12 hours here.
That we did know. And here is Olivier Panis in the number 10 Orica Matmut team Peugeot, coming on to through turn 16 onto the main straightaway. You couldn't see already. The first two are long gone out of the picture through to complete another lap here. But here is Olivier Panis, massive amount of experience, of course, and again, kind of enjoying a new lease of life here in the sports cars over the last year or two.
Peugeot are plus rapide, monsieur, to Pedro Lamy. Vite, pushing him on. Dépêche-toi, s'il vous plaît. And telling him to get the hammer down. In fourth position, Guillaume Moreau. What a driver this young man is. Not perhaps as well known as some of the other European drivers here at Sebring this year, but I watched him last year in the Le Mans series. He impressed me immensely. Was stellar in the dark at Portimao in Portugal. And Oak Racing committing to 3 cars in the ILMC for this season.
Yeah.
And that is a big commitment, looking resplendent in the very evocative Etruscan orange and sky blue. As it heads down, difficult to tell them apart for commentators, guys. Can you just put a little bit more on there if anybody's listening down at Oak? But Moreau, again, look, but you know, that's actually quite decisive. He gets himself into the eye line of the driver. He's on the side where the driver is, puts his car where the driver of the 077, which was Matthew Marsh, the Hong Kong resident, Brit born. Matthew, you know, in fairness, experienced drivers, driven a lot of things, driven at Le Mans, but amazingly, Matthew's first time here at Sebring.
Yeah, he's done just about all the other big sports car races in the world, but not yet previously to this week has he done at Sebring. But yeah, Guillaume Moreau, I mean, he came up through the ranks, didn't he, of open wheel racing in France, and then didn't he get an opportunity with the Alphonse team, was it? Yeah,
absolutely.
In GTs, and now with with Oak Racing. Good to see.
BMW's first and second in the GT category. Augusta Farfus from Andy Priaulx. No, you're not watching a World Touring Car race. This is endurance with Gian-Maria Bruni. Now, see how the world turns, Jeremy. The 51 car, stop and go penalties, problems in the pits. And now, look, he's only 2 cars away from the battling BMWs at the head of the GT field. And Bruni, who qualified this car in pole position, and this is the 51 car just behind Priaulx's car that we're looking forward from now. This is the 430. People's going to be looking at this and going, 458? Pa! I'll be quite happy with the 430, thank you very much.
Yeah, when you got the likes of Mika Salo and Giancarlo Fisichella and Jimmy Bruni in a 430, it's going to be fast in any case, isn't it? But yeah. Mika Salo now, he's fallen back to 4th place, hasn't he? After that great pit stop by Rita Competizione.
Double stint with the tyres, remember?
Yeah.
Got them in the lead, but double stint with the tyres.
Right.
And, you know, the question was asked of Dave Sims, can you make the tyres last? Now, in fairness, it was the 430 that was struggling with tyres earlier on, but that was in a single stint. The dice was rolled by Risi to get track position. It paid off for them short term, and they're still only 4 seconds, 5 seconds away from the leader, so it's not exactly a disaster yet, Jeremy. They're still hanging on to the back of that, and they've put themselves in good position. And maybe now just rolling the dice with that double stint might make some of the other teams think, my goodness me, we can't afford to take any liberties here, particularly the BMW guys at the head of the field.
Yeah, here they are, first and second. We're on board the second place of the BMWs with Andy Priaulx. That is Augusto Farfus right in front of them, and Jimmy Bruni, about a second or so behind them in 3rd place in class. Mika Salo another second or so behind that, and Antonio Garcia is only about another second behind them in the Corvette in 5th place, and Wolf Hensler is in 6th place. Don't forget him. He's only another three seconds.
I was going to
say
he's a whole 3 seconds back.
Yeah.
Top 6 then within something of the order of 8 seconds, 9 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, 8.
And that's after 4.5 hours of race.
Brilliant.
4.5 hours of racing have gone by, Mr. Shaw. Can you believe that?
I thought we just started.
Yes. Oh, unbelievable stuff. Could watch this all day. Fantastic stuff. If you're joining us for the first time, you've missed some fabulous racing, but we'll catch you up at 12 minutes past the hour or thereabouts, provided something exciting's not happening on the track or there's not some wheel-to-wheel racing, and we'll get you back up to date with what's been going on. And remember, the whole of the American Le Mans Series season, all 9 races culminating in that modern classic, the 10 hours or 1,000 miles of Petit Le Mans in October, all on ESPN3.com and AmericanLeMans.com, with Jeremy and myself providing you with the play-by-play of the action, making our jobs very easy at the moment to be excited about this, because the guys are working so hard out there in the cars. And also, just at this point, we should spare a word for our camera crew out there in the heat, bringing us the fabulous pictures that you guys have been watching. They are the #1 team and the fastest team in motorsport TV. Thanks, guys and girls. You're doing us proud at the moment.
Yeah, it's great stuff. With fabulous pictures, beautiful weather conditions, big crowd. This is what motor racing is all about, isn't it? And you know, the story's still up and down the field. We've got a new leader in GT Challenge. Carlos Kaufmann, that's the name that you probably won't know very much. Well, he's only been racing for a year in Porsche GT3 Cup. Well, he's now leading in GT Challenge in the 030 NGT motorsport car. And in LMP2, Dane Cameron for Genoa Racing, 8th place overall for an LMP2 car.
Yeah,
ahead of Joe Barbosa now, because they've had some problems. Joao Barbosa, in the level 5 team in P2, they've had some problems, and it's now an LMP2 car ahead of the best of the P2 cars.
Yeah. Those thing about the PC cars, if you get them set up when you drive them, then that big V8 Chevrolet engine, the K-Tech,
it's a nice package.
It's you can run it forever and a day, and it'll do what it says on the tin. What you want me to, it's not particularly hard worked. It's a low revving engine. It's got that big sonorous rumbling sound as it goes by you. And hello, yes, we'll have a bit of that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but we've had several of them had some problems already in this race, though. I mean, we saw the 2 core auto sports cars running well earlier on, and now Frankie Montecalvo in the best of them in the 005 car he shares with Ryan Dalziel, doesn't he? That car and the team owner Jonathan Bennett, they're in 4th place in LMPC, but they're now 5 laps behind the class leader Dane Cameron.
We continue to watch the phenomenal pictures from the roof cam of the second-placed GT car, Andy Prio. Hello to Joe Prio and the children back on the island. I know you'll be watching this via the internet, AmericanLeMans.com. The ESPN3.com not yet available in Europe, but I can tell you that plans are out there, and within a month or two there'll be the full ESPN player and 360 for South America and ESPN3.com across Europe. But we know that an awful lot of you are tuned into us, and good to be able to give you some pictures as well as the sound that you've been used to in the past from Jeremy and I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. I could watch these pictures all day. HD onboards looking absolutely fabulous with the clear blue skies over central Florida, and Augusto Farfus just kicking up a little bit of the dirt from the right hand side with his Dunlops as he heads down towards Chateau Elan, just there on the left as they come down into the braking area for turn number 7, down through the gearbox, bang, bang, bang. Listen to that BMW engine working as we hear that the Audi of Dindo Capello is back into the pit lane.
Down now in 11th place.
Timo's just gone past and clicked off a lap on him, so the two Audis are going to be pretty close together.
And all the GT cars are going to go past him on the next lap as well. That puts Dane Cameron up to 7th in that LMP Challenge leading class. Here's another look again at the replay of the incident that happened about, 20 minutes or so ago. Martinet looking to the inside. He gets sort of his left front alongside the right rear, and that's as close to getting in. I think he's trying to get out of it there, but they're heavily under the brakes, and the mistake, if you like, has already been made. He's not fully committed himself to making that pass. If you're going to make that pass, you've got to lunge it all the way down the inside and get absolutely alongside the guy you're trying to pass, and that he did not do. And then when he got his sort of steering out of sync over the bumps, it was always going to be an accident from there on. And there's the impact from on board with Dindo Capello, and around goes the Audi.
The Peugeot's still in the pit lane. By the way, Dindo took service in the pits and has rejoined the fray, and he will come round to
7 laps down.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that the two Audis now running in 7th and 8th, and in class
6 laps down, I guess.
Dindo has got a whole slew of GT cars ahead of him in terms of the timing and scoring. But don't forget, of course, if you do want to keep up with the timing and scoring, great timing and scoring. Simon Pagenaud's got to the lead. Simon Pagenaud's got the lead. What's happened to the number 8 Peugeot?
Oh, well, you know, they've been running the same sort of pace, and I was trying to make this point a couple of laps ago, and Simon Pagenaud was within a second, and now the scoring shows us that Pagenaud is out in front. Here we are on board with Simon Pagenaud. A slow lap last time around, at 1:57 for the erstwhile leader Pedro Lamy, and Simon Pagenaud for HBD and Highcroft Racing in the lead of this race, at least according to the scoring.
No, he is, because there's no Peugeot ahead of him, and you would be able to see him from that shot. I was just about to say, AmericanLeMans.com to have a look at a great timing and scoring system. It's live, it's all colour-coded, and just as I said that, I glanced across, and you must have seen exactly the same thing, Jeremy, as they went across the stripe last time around. Pagenaud in the 01, the defending champions from the American Le Mans Series, lead the international field. The ILMC are trailing in their wake. The works cars have gone through, and if ever Duncan Dayton and the guys needed a little fillip for their programme for this year, well, goodness me, here it is, absolutely on merit. That car has fought its way to the front with good tactics and great driving.
Where is the Peugeot?
The Peugeot's had a problem. The Peugeot's had a problem. It's either had a spin, it's got caught in traffic, it's way back down the road. There it is, you can just see it. It's at least a second or a second and a half behind Pagenaud at this point, and it's got traffic ahead of it. That is Pedro Lamy, the leader, as was. And he was being told to push. And remember, I said to him, I said that we heard on the radio, Dépêche-toi, push on, faster, faster.
Gosh, look at the traffic there.
Pagenaud will be loving this. And you know, there's an irony here, of course, because who does Simon Pagenaud drive for when he's not driving for Highcroft?
Yeah, who will be driving at Le Mans?
That would be Peugeot, wouldn't it?
you think he's grinning now?
I think he's laughing his head off. He's been held up there by the Kelly Moss GTC car, and now he's going to have to defend. He's got on the power early, but here comes Lamy. He's dragging right up behind the wing of the open top car, and Simon goes to the inside, looking to his left-hand mirror. Can Lamy pull the cutback move? He can't. Now, let's see. The ACO are telling us that they want to balance the engine power of petrols and diesels. These cars, one petrol leading, one diesel following. Have they got the sums right as they come up behind the Robertson Racing Ford?
Yeah, we'll see in about 20 seconds when they get onto the ALMS straightaway here at Sebring International Raceway. But look at it, Simon's having to work so hard to get through this traffic. He gets past one of the Ford GTs there. Great move coming into the turn 13 there. He's now a couple of corners to go. We'll see him on the straight, and what can the Peugeot do about the straight line speed of the Acura HPD?
Look how composed Simon Pagenaud is in the cockpit of that car. Much like all the top drivers, his head barely moves, slightly leans in to look across the corner, but other than that, he's a statue in there. You would almost think it was an RC racing car as they come down the Ullman Straight, coming down into the braking area. Will Lamy be close enough? He's not. He's nowhere near. And the Highcroft will lead another lap.
You know, the amazing thing about the Highcroft guys right now, they're on the third stint with that particular set of tires. The team says this car handles the tires like unlike any car they have ever had before. They're waiting to bring him in for a pit stop. Looks like Marino He's going to be getting behind the wheel. Simon Pagenaud's been in that car for 3 stints as well, so a lot of pressure, a lot of time on this equipment right now, but it is performing beautifully.
70 laps for Simon Pagenaud. So do you honestly think they're going to get him out of that car while it's and the 63 LMPC second place car of Elton Julian is in the tyres. The core racing car. What a shit. Sorry, the
Genoa car.
The Genoa second car has gone in there, and there's damage to the right hand. So there's a full course caution. A full course caution. Now, that's very interesting indeed, and the Peugeot has just been passed by the Peugeot, but Lamy sees the double waved yellows and quite rightly drops in. See, in fairness, it's very difficult to see peripheral vision in those closed cockpit cars, but he did the right thing. That's a shit. And I tell you what, put this day down in your diary. Elton Julian makes a mistake. Well, did he, or was he pushed? Because he is such a good driver. It'd be very unusual for him to have made what in...
Can't find reverse gear either by the looks of things.
What in tennis terms would be called an unforced error. Yeah, he's stuck in gear, I think, Jeremy. That's the problem.
Right.
He stalled the car and he's stuck in gear. And it either won't start or he can't get the clutch depressed enough to... There you go. Well done to the safety guys again. And whilst we're handing out plaudits, by the way, the IMSA safety team, very, very professional set of people. And follow the whole series. Now we've got Simon Pagenaud leading under our 6th full course caution, and we wondered what happened to Pedro Lamy. Look ahead, Lamy's out of the power. He's being held up a little bit. Simon Pagenaud says, I might have a little sniff here. I might have a bit more of a sniff. I'm leading the race. Nice thought process up behind the Oak Racing car.
Yeah, I think, was that the LMP2 Oak Racing car?
Yes, it was.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Fabulous drive by Simon Pagenaud. Wonderful to see. And he is just grasping this opportunity, and he was hanging in there. I mean, he'd been hanging in there with that Peugeot all the way through that stint, and there he is. When the opportunity presents itself, thank you very much, I'm going to take it. Through he goes into the lead of the race.
You haven't got a camera in our booth, which is in some ways probably just as well, but if you could see, both Jeremy and I have got hands spread wide apart. That's exactly what you've got to do. You know, it's endurance racing. It's 5 seconds down the road becomes 2 seconds down the road, becomes a second down the road, becomes you leading the race behind the safety car, and all of a sudden in 5 laps with a little bit of traffic, all things can change. And you know, in other forms of racing, I mean, I don't know how many cars they're passing a lap here, but it's got to be half a dozen sometimes, maybe 10.
At best, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And any one of those overtaking manoeuvres potentially can cost you a lot of time if you get it wrong. And that's the joy of what we're watching here in multiple class sports car racing. Everybody's got an objective. Everybody has got an aim. And, you know, keeping ahead this is not like particularly for our European listeners, Formula One, as that Genoa racing car's restarted, but it's clearly not happy, and Elton Julian waves his hands to say, I think that he may have done a radiator or something on that car because it is overheating. But in Formula One, for example, past 3 blue flags and you get a big fine, or you're pulled off the track. Here, blue flags are there as an advisory. The leader has to find their way, or the faster car has to find their way. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the right way, because part of motor racing and the skill of motor racing is actually overtaking people, whether it's for position or just track position or just trying to keep your position. It's still part of the skill of being a racing driver.
Yeah, well done, guys, for finding that footage of,
very good.
Simon making that pass, because that was great onboard footage. Super camera work there, and great work in the truck here to find that piece of footage, because you can't watch everything all of the time. There's so much going on.
There's magic stuff. And Pagino, can you imagine what Pagino was thinking as he could see that Peugeot just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually sliding through?
Yeah, and Pagino thinking, well, why hasn't he pulled out to the right to go past the P2 car? Well, if he isn't, I will.
I'm going to have a bit of that, yeah, absolutely. Well, take a picture, Duncan Dayton, take a picture of the timing screen now, because with 4 hours and 47 minutes of this race gone, we have the 01 Highcroft Racing Acura ARX leading behind the safety car for our 6th full course caution of the day, with Pedro Lamy in 2nd place, Olivier Panis for Peugeot, but for Orica Peugeot in 3rd position. Guillaume Moreau is just the first car off the lead lap, isn't he, in the first of the Oak Racing cars, the 1.5, the 15 car. And Nicola Prost, and again, kudos to the Rebellion Racing team in 6th position, and between Guillaume and Nicola Prost is the 016 car of Guy Smith. Now, they had problems earlier on in the Dyson Racing Mazda, the G-Oil sponsored car, newly sponsored G-Oil car, and with Guy Smith, Le Mans winner in 2003 with Bentley. They have just gradually pulled their way back up into contention, and running in P1, of course, with what is effectively a P2 car. 5th position overall, good points for the season.
That little Mazda has run absolutely beautifully. Super job by them. And in GT, some changes. Augusto Farfus still leads in the number 55 BMW. Andy Prio was running 2nd place, wasn't he, in the sister car? He'd been overtaken just before that caution period by Jimmy Bruni. We didn't see what happened.
Great comeback.
Exactly. For the number 51 AF Corsa Ferrari F430 up into 2nd place. Then Mika Salo is back down to 4th place. Antonio Garcia in the Corvette in 5th, and Wolf Hensler the top 6
more
in
carbon
GT.
fiber than any other Corvette. You can get a Z06 carbon that has a hood, front fenders, all the aero, the front splitter and the rocker extensions are all what we call Class A.
So on board with our leader, Simon Pagino, who, I don't know how these guys do this, Jeremy. You have all that adrenaline as we start the pass by, to let all the cars in front of their class leaders go by and regain their laps. New feature for the American Le Mans Series this year. Then we'll open the pits to prototypes and then to GT cars, and then we'll see how it shakes out behind the pace car and pick up the first class leader after everybody's done their pit stops. The point I was going to make there, you're a driver, you have all that adrenaline. Simon Pagino has made the pass, genuine pass to get to the front of the field, and now it's hurry up and wait, because he's in behind the Jaguar XKR pace car, and he's probably listening to what's the mellifluous tones of Messrs Hill and Dayton coming from the pit lane, to sort of keep him calm now, but then to rev him up again when something needs to happen. And it's that ebb and flow. You've almost got to flick a switch, haven't you?
Yeah, I like what the organisers are trying to do here to make sure the class battles aren't ruined here. But I must admit, it does mean these caution periods are a good
lap
bit
or
longer.
two longer.
Two or 3 laps longer probably used to be. The last one was 20 odd minutes.
But I tell you what it has done, of course, it's kept the top 6 in GT on the lead lap.
And in the other classes as well. Same in GT. In GT Challenge, we've got, I guess, only 2 cars actually on the lead lap now. But it's doing what it was intended to do.
And of course, this is brand new, so they're just starting doing that.
Black Swan managed to lose a lap in GT Challenge a little while ago. Haven't seen that.
This new pass-by feature is brand new, and the officials are getting used to it, and so the teams and drivers. And the more times they do it, the better they will become at it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're seeing it move forward. So that's okay.
And in the shorter races, once they've got that, the procedures down pat, so to speak, it'll be a little bit quicker to do, and it'll be particularly beneficial in those shorter races with all these different battles going on. So we're going to be seeing some pit stops any minute now, I would think. They're coming past the stricken car there of Elton Julian, coming into turn 15, I believe it is. Jean de Vion bend, and then be coming down the back straightaway, and I think the pits will be open at this time around. So we'll see Simon Pagenaud leading the field onto pit lane, 0-1 car.
I mean, he does have to come, doesn't he? I mean,
yeah, I think so. The last pitted on lap 101, so they've done sort of 20 odd laps under green flag conditions. So yeah, you've got to come in now.
And he's been in the car for a long time, as you said, 70 odd laps. Marino Franchitti will have that helmet on. He'll be ready to go, and the young Scotsman will be ready to go. Here's the incident. Excuse me. Here's the incident again that gave the problems to the Peugeot and the Audi.
Just wasn't incisive enough, John, was he? I mean, he looked to the inside there. If he'd left his braking really late and really made a lunge down the inside, then it would have been a reasonable manoeuvre. But he was having second thoughts about it at that stage. There. And as soon as you have second thoughts at this sort of situation, it's going to end in disaster. That's exactly what it did.
Almost needed to come off the brakes, get a little bit more on side and go back on again, roll the car deeper into the car. You know, easy for us to say sitting here, of course. We're not sitting, you know, going at the better part of 180 miles an hour into a very bumpy right-hand hairpin. Net result
he's not going to be the most popular guy in either camp, though, I can tell you that, because it was a move that didn't need to be made at that stage in the proceedings.
Again, ambitious is the word that we'll use. And he's already optimistic. Yeah, very good. He's going to take a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as he came in, and I am absolutely certain he'll get an avoidable contact penalty called as well. Although it may be, and Bo Barfield's very good with this, it may be that he feels that they have had already enough penalty by what's happened since the car's been in the pit lane. Now, are we back with live pictures and are we back with live racing? I think we are.
It's still on the yellow according to the scoring screen.
Is that yellow or is it light green? That's racing pace that we're going at at the moment, and neither of the leaders have come into the pit lane. Not entirely certain, but I think we're back to green flag racing here, unless that was from earlier on. What we're seeing is some highlights package being put together for tomorrow's ABC show, which airs here in the United States. Just seeing the replay of the pass made by Simon Pagenaud. That was a fantastic opportunist moment from out of the hairpin and out of turn 10 rather, and catching Pedro Lamy a little unawares. And now we're back to live pictures.
Yeah, so the pits have not yet been opened.
Indeed.
Hopefully this time around. So we've got just 3 cars on lead lap, with those 2 having taken themselves out of contention. We now have the 0-1 of Simon Pagenaud, the HBD car. We've got the Peugeot of Pedro Lamy, the new Peugeot of Pedro Lamy, and the older Peugeot Olivier Panis. So those are the 3 cars on the lead lap. We have Guillaume Moreau for Oak Racing, the Golf liveried car, in 4th place, 1 lap down to the leaders. And in 5th place, Guy Smith for Dyson Racing, 3 laps off the ultimate pace and a lap ahead of Nicolas Prost in a Rebellion Racing Toyota. And then in 7th place, Dane Cameron, who's only 5 laps behind the race leader in the LMP Challenge leading car.
Yeah,
great job.
You know, and that is what 18 minutes of driving effectively. You know, in 5 hours, coming up 5 hours in a couple of minutes' time.
And they've slowed down the LMP Challenge cars this week because earlier in the week you could see, I mean, you've got these new regulations for this season for LMP1 and LMP2. The plan is to slow everybody down. They've probably slowed down the LMP2 cars a little bit too much, haven't they? So they tried to slow down the LMP Challenge cars, sort of kind of to react to that, because there's a big difference in the cost involved in running a P2 car and an LMP Challenge car. On board here is Guy Smith.
Yeah, it's a new helmet for Guy. He used to have the Union flag on the side of his helmet, red, white and blue. He's got a lot more green on there, perhaps reflecting the green nature of isobutanol and G-oil.
New sponsors also with Mod Space there, and a couple of other sponsors on board. So good to see the Dyson Racing working hard to maximise their opportunities for their partners.
And we said this in the bonus coverage that we did on RadioLeMans.com, and hello to everyone who's listening to us on there as well for the audio for this event, that this is the first time in a couple of seasons that Dyson's run the same car in 2 consecutive seasons, because they have rather been a bit of a gadabout as far as the we head into the pit stops, with Pedro Lamy coming in and Simon Pagenaud coming in. GT cars will stay out. So Simon Pagenaud into the pit lane will change to Marino Franchitti. Lap 129, just under 5 hours gone on our 6th caution. Out goes the Peugeot, and this time it's the Peugeot of Pedro Lamy who gets turned around super quick. But that's because they will not have changed drivers, remember, so that will have been diesel fuel only. Pagenaud gets out, in gets Marino Franchitti, and he's gone as well. Well, it may well be that Marino held... In fact, I'm wrong, because it's Frank Montani who's got into the Peugeot, and I think Highcroft might have held on to the lead. We'll see them further around the lap, Jeremy. But again, if that's the case, Duncan Dayton's boys have done an absolutely cracking job against of what is now, and you know, Peugeot may not have always been like this, but they have been a very slick team in the last 18 months. Olivier Cadel has beaten them into shape. They won the team award from Radio Le Mans listeners last year, and rightly deserved. But I think that means that Marino Franchitti will continue to lead at the end of these prototype pit stops.
I think we saw them coming out of the pits there, didn't we? And that's just that's the scoring that we're seeing on the monitors as they came across the line, which is before where their pit is. So I think we'll find that.
Well, the
Peugeot's pulling out of the pit with the
Peugeot's further down the pits, and Marino is still showed as one, and they've both changed drivers, so they've gone across another timing loop since then. The timing loop between turns 1 and 3. There's a timing loop there that has changed the driver scoring. Well, speculate all we like.
We'll find out.
We know that Dindo Capello has stayed in the number 2 car, and he's down in 16th position, or 8th in the prototype. João Barbosa at the wheel of the 33, which leads the prototype 2 category, and is in 8th position overall, and that is a very creditable run for that brand new car. Came out of Huntingdon just last week. Lola and João Barbosa doing a very good job indeed. Wait for them to come back around. Pedro Lamy not making any friends from Dindo Capello or indeed his teammates. As Jeremy said, he was a bit unlucky as the car snapped sideways under braking. At this point here, really should let the car run all the way up alongside Dindo. But he had second thoughts. Slightly failed for Pedro there, because he was probably trying to do the right thing. In doing so, lost control of the car. Heavy contact to the right rear. Dindo, excuse me, absolutely blameless in that one. Now, as the timing screen has reset, what Jeremy and I had forgotten was that the number 10 Orica Matmut car is also in the mix there, and it appears that Olivier Panis has taken over the lead from Frank Montani, new to the number 8 car in 2nd place, and Marino Franchitti in the 01 Highcroft in 3rd position. Those 3 cars on lap 130, which is the lead lap, and we'll have a chat with our pit lane team in just a few moments' time to get the stories on who stopped, who didn't, We know that the 8 and the 01 stopped and changed drivers, therefore will have changed tyres. So the question hangs on what the number 10 Orica Matmut car did, whether it came in and didn't change tyres, which I think is the end of the equation there, because Panis was in before the pit stop, wasn't he, Jeremy?
Yep.
And so that is how the Orica Matmut HDI FAP 908 got into the lead. Just over 5 hours completed. You're listening to live coverage and watching live coverage from Sebring, the 59th annual Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida. So, Jeremy, clean-up still going on at various parts of the track from incidents. For example, that Dindo Capello Pedro Lamy incident didn't bring out a full course caution, but they're taking the time to rearrange the tyres and things like that and have a bit of a brush of the circuit. Seems sensible to me. So what we've got is now the Orica Matmut on a slightly different pit strategy than before, as we see Elton Julian's end.
That was weird.
Oh, did something break there?
That was very strange, wasn't it?
On the right front, as he's coming up to Jean de Bian bends, he just seemed to understeer. Is he all right in the car there?
Didn't seem to be going particularly quickly, did he? I mean,
he was quite slumped in the car.
Didn't look like he made a mistake.
Just didn't turn.
Yeah.
That was very odd. Very odd indeed. Well, the field have formed back up again behind the Jaguar XKR pace car, looking resplendent in its Jaguar racing colours. And we'll see where the wave bike takes us to in just a few moments' time. Let's run down some of the classes for you. In GTC, it's the Magnus Racing 077 car, Matthew Marsh, that leads from Alan Lee in the 066 Porsche in second. Sean Edwards back up to third in the 030 car, and that's been a good drive to come back up through the field.
Well, yeah,
started at the back of the field, of course.
They started absolutely dead last because of a big accident. Yes, they had to replace just about everything on the car: front subframe, back subframe, engine, transmission, the whole lot. And Carlos Kaufman, who drives that car with Sean Edwards and with Enrique Cisneros, they were up in the lead before this round of pit stop. So Sean Edwards has now got behind the wheel again of that car, and he's back in third place, as you say. So it's 077, 066, 030 in GT Challenge, with the 054 back on the lead lap as well.
Yes, absolutely. The Tracy Cron Ferrari 430 leading in the GT amateur class, ahead of Gianluca Roda in the 63 Porsche. Well as all the classes, of course, in the American Le Mans Series and ACO Racing, here in the ALMS, there's another race going on within the race, and this one is a one that drives benefits to the planet. The Michelin Green X Challenge is a vital manufacturer competition within each 2011 ALMS Series race. Basically, we're rewarding the team and the car and the drivers who go the furthest and the fastest with the smallest impact on the environment. It's a scoring system that's run by a little set of calculations, and here's how it stands in prototype. The Peugeot Sport Total, which is running the 7 car, which is running on gas to liquid diesel, of course, leads it from the E10 ethanol 10% of Patron Highcroft Racing, and in third place another diesel car, the number 2 Audi Sport Team Yost. In Grand Touring, it's no surprise with the E85 cars all at the head of the field that it's the cars that are at the head of the field who've gone the furthest and the fastest. So the BMWs are leading the score at the moment, but it's very tight indeed, and well done to Robertson Racing, the 004 car. Remember that the Green X Challenge is not just for plaudits or a little piece of glass at the end of the year. The ACO have said that they intend to give an invite to Le Mans for the teams and cars that win the Green X Challenge.
And that is very much what Robertson Racing, Andrea and David Robertson, aspire to.
Yeah, going to Le Mans on the back of their environmental impact or lack thereof. So that's something to keep in touch with. You can follow the competition throughout the season on AmericanLeMans.com. We'll be back with some green flag racing in a few moments' time from the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida.
Was a town held captive by an evil gas pump. It fed on people's hard-earned money. But along came the Michelin Man, who reminded them the right tire changes everything. And with fuel-efficient tires in place, that evil gas pump wasn't so evil anymore. Michelin Energy Saver AS tires can help save up to 109 gallons of fuel. Michelin, a better way forward.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
Well, we're in the 6th full course caution of the 12 Hours of Sebring for 2011. Jeremy Shaw and myself, John Hindhaugh. Before we go back to green, let's get a little bit of a roundup of what's been going on in the pit lane. And one of the big stories is the coming together of Dindo Capello and Pedro Lamy. And Pedro can talk to us now.
And Pedro Lamy had the lead in the number 8 Peugeot for some time, but Simon Pagenaud made his way around you. Looked like traffic may have played a part, but what happened? How did he manage his way past you?
Well, I knew that the other car had an accident with Audi, so I was just taking care with the traffic, and Simon arrived and overtook me. But we have a fast car so far, and everything goes well. We will see how the race goes.
This is really a big test for you as you look forward to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. How so far? We're not quite at the halfway mark, but what do you think of this new Peugeot 908?
Well, at the beginning we had some troubles with the setup. We improved day by day, and at the moment it seems that we have a competitive car, but we don't know how they will come with the new car, so we have to wait and see. But we are improving day by day, and hopefully we can finish the race, because it's very important for us to learn as much as possible.
Thanks, Pedro. And Jamie's with the other half of that equation, and Simon Pagenaud.
Simon Pagenaud, you said it before the race, we could expect some surprises today. You triple-stinted yourself, you triple-stinted those tires, and you made the pass for the leader. Those are surprises you were talking about?
Well, it's thank you, Jamie. It's going really well. I was actually surprised in the car. I knew we set it up the car for the end of the race, but it's actually coming to us right now. The tires, the Michelin tires, are starting to really work with the car. And to be honest, we're just discovering the car, so it's a bit of a little bit of a surprise, but that's what racing is about. And you know, HPD and iCrop Racing prepared the car really well, and it's actually flying. So, but the good fight was my friend Pedro Lamy in the Peugeot, and really enjoyed it.
Now he's your good friend, because when you go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, you actually race with Peugeot. So how is that for you when you're racing for iCrop here, but then you're going to stay nice with them as well?
Well, you know, I've got to be professional, so I've got the chance to drive both prototype, the best prototype out there at the moment. So, you know, when I'm driving for one, I'm going as quick as I can. I'm doing my job, and when I'm with the other, I'm doing the same. So, at the end of the day, you know, it's what you have to do in the car you are. So, I really enjoy having the opportunity to work with different teams and get some knowledge out of it. So it's great for a driver.
I think we can expect some more surprises as this race continues.
Well, if Simon Pagenaud's got anything to do with it, absolutely. And Marino Franchitti has taken over and set off exactly the way that Pagenaud left it. He was doing his quickest times on tyres that were 3 stints old, with a driver that was 3 stints old. At the end of that, when he took the race lead away from the Peugeot, and Marino Franchitti has immediately got up into second place. Frank Montani already has jumped the Orica car. Panis came round to the green flag a couple of laps ago, leading because they did not change tyres. Panis stayed in that car. Montani and Marino both new into the car, therefore you might as well change the tyres. You're going to take that time. Frank's down the road by 4.5 seconds, but Marino Franchitti dialing himself in quickly. Yeah, by 4.5 seconds, as you say, Frank Montani, in one lap. I mean, that was a pretty mediocre lap there, I have to say, from Olivier Panis. We're watching him there in third place. He lost 2 positions and about at least 5 seconds worth of track time. That's surprising for somebody of his level of experience, but a great move again there by Marino Franchitti. He's just got into the car. It's awfully difficult when you get into the car. It's running so well. You're, what, 4.5 hours into the race, or more than that. 5 hours into the race, and you've been sitting around anxiously waiting to get behind the wheel of that car. Finally, your opportunity comes along, and you've got to take advantage of it. Make sure you don't get carried away by the euphoria of finally getting your chance to get behind the wheel of what is obviously a very, very fast car. So hats off to Marino Franchitti there, and already look at him, he's pulling away from Olivier Panis. Yeah. As we talked about earlier on, John, the ACO has tried to equalise more the balance between the turbo diesels and the petrol-powered cars. And, Do you know who's sitting at home in the central England and lapping this up? And that's George Howard Chappell and David Richards of Aston Martin, thinking, hello, hello. And remember, they've gone for a different configuration of engine to everybody else, a 2-litre straight-six turbocharged petrol engine, gasoline-powered engine. And they're looking at this right now thinking, we've got our sums right, because they're going to come out and play with us in the first round of the Le Mans Series events at Paul Ricard in a few weeks' time. An event obviously not in vision, but you'll be able to hear it on radiolemans.com before we go to Spa and then Le Mans, and they're going to all come together at Spa. New Audi, new Peugeot, new Aston Martin, all at the head of the field at the Spa 6 hours. Mouth-watering. It's going to be very good to see. I know Adrian Fernandez is another one in Switzerland, and Harold Quimad and all the rest of those guys on that team. The drivers can't wait. I know you're listening. I know you are listening at the moment. We can't wait to get behind the wheel of that gorgeous-looking new Aston Martin. It's a very distinctive-looking car. Open-top car, interestingly. Of course, we've seen Audi switching from an open-top car to a coupe, and we're seeing Aston Martin going the opposite direction. Let's have a look at the GT battle, because it's very dangerous to take our eyes off this for any time at all. And guess what? It's all changed around again since the last time we mentioned, because now Andy Priaulx, who was shuffled down into third position, is leading from in second position. Well, it should have been Jamie Mello. It's not. I think that's Jamie Mello actually just ahead of him, perhaps. I think that may have changed again since the start of this lap. But on the timing and scoring screen, it's Priaulx from Mello, from Augusto Farfus, from Giancarlo Fisichella. But I think, is that the luxury Ferrari just doing my head in again? No, that is indeed, there is Priaulx up the road. So it is indeed Priaulx, Mello, Farfus and Fisichella. So BMW, Ferrari 458, BMW, Ferrari 430. But a very dusty Ferrari 430, so somebody clearly hasn't been playing always on the concrete and the tarmac. Look at the front end of that car, Jeremy. That's seen a bit of action, hasn't it, with Fisichella at the wheel? Yeah, it hasn't just. We're still seeing great battles here in G2, and GT Challenge is the same. I thought there were 4 cars back on the lead lap in GT Challenge. I was wrong. There are 5. Oh my goodness. Do you know what's the matter with GT? Nothing at all. Do you know what they should change with GT? Yeah, nothing at all. When you're getting manufacturers want to be involved, like Aston Martin, like Lamborghini, like BMW, like Pano's back as well, of course, Ferrari and Porsche, Ford with the Doran Fords. Okay, that's not a full factory entry, but it's just more variety. On that subject of GT, we spoke to Patrick Long a little while ago when he graciously admitted, it was his fault they put that car back behind. Well, that strategy has now panned out for Flying Lizard, and they are back on the lead lap. So we now have 7 cars on the lead lap in GT, and Oliver Gavin now is up in 8th place in that 04 Corvette as well, and he's maybe poised to get that lap back as well. Well, what did he say? Thomas Plum, the man on the wall, seldom gets it wrong. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm John Hindhaugh. This is live coverage of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring on ESPN.com, presented by Fresh from Florida.
There was a town held captive by an evil gas pump. It fed on people's hard-earned money. But along came the Michelin Man, who reminded them the right tire changes everything. And with fuel-efficient tires in place, that evil gas pump wasn't so evil anymore. Michelin Energy Saver AS tires can help save up to 109 gallons of fuel. Michelin, a better way forward.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
Sebring, Florida, first big international motor race of the season, the Michelin Green X Challenge, a vital manufacturing competition within each 2011 American Le Mans Series race rewards the greenest prototypes and GT teams at each event. The race car that goes the furthest, fastest and with the smallest environmental impact registers the best car. Peugeot leading in prototype, and you can follow the competition throughout the season on AmericanLeMans.com, and it's BMW on the E85 fuel, which is second generation cellulosic, doesn't come from anything that could be food, it's wood chippings before we make race fuel out of it. Well, one thing that can make an impact on how much fuel you use is how much friction you have in your engine. That's a very black art, if you'll pardon the pun, as Doug Feehan tells us.
One of the key elements to success in any racing environment is your choice of your strategic partners. At Corvette Racing, we've chosen Mobil 1 as our strategic engine lubricant partner. I want to tell you why. A couple years ago, they came out with a product that they had been developing called Zero Viscosity Motor Oil, 0W50. It's what we use in the race car. Extremely low viscosity to reduce all the frictional loads, still fights all the heat loads that we gather. Great, great, great friction protection. And yet you can run it in your street car. It's a prime example of racing leading the way, developing motor oil for the intense purpose of racing and being able to put it in the passenger car that you buy today.
Leader in prototype 2 category is Joao Barbosa in the level 5 Honda Lola Coupe. He is heading down the back straight at the moment, and that is the driver's eye view that you're looking at in HD on ESPN3.com. Flicking down 1, 2, 3 gears that look like with the second finger of his left hand. The absolutely superstar Brazil. What a driver Joao has become over the last 2 or 3 short years. He will drive anything, and what a mean machine that Lola Honda Coupe is. One of 3 Lolas at level 5. Oh, and he has a huge moment going over the bump at the exit of turn number 1, leading P2 by a steady margin now. Next P2 car is way down the field. In fact, it's the Ryan Hunter Ray-driven car, and he is some 3 laps back in GT. Look at the battles going on here in GT category. That is what we've been used to seeing all weekend. The CRS car not in the mix at the moment in terms of what's going on at the head of the field. That's Andy Prio, the first white BMW coming towards us now in the 56 BMW. Second place was the 55. I think it may still be the 55. Is that car just unlamming itself?
Ferrari.
Has he gone through? Yes, he has, Jeremy Mello. He's gone through. And here it comes. Side by side. Oh, hello. Hopefully that is just a piece of paper, but I'm not sure. That is tasty, Jeremy, as a pass.
Very, very nice indeed.
You know
That's
that
very
can't
difficult.
be done.
Can't be done, no, quite. A lot of people will tell you that can't be done. Great move by Jeremy Mello there to move past Dirk Werner into second place in GT, and now he's sights. Can he do anything about the other BMW as well? Andy Prio, you can see the difference there. 1, 2, 3, and 4 in GT class there. Those first 4 cars. Giancarlo Fisichella is now at the wheel of the AF Corsa number 51 Ferrari. That the older F430, of course. Here we go. Second, third, there's fourth coming into the corner.
Is that the Corvette Beretta in there as well? Just a little further back.
Yeah,
may have a lap car between them. I think that's the CRS Ferrari that white-fronted Ferrari. And here's Beretta just about to pull out to our left, to driver's right, and make the first 5 cars all on the Ullman straight at the same time. In fact, there's Brian Sellers there as well. So the first 6 cars. Here's the leader in LMPC. And
there is Dane Cameron running in 7th place overall.
Fantastic.
He took the lead quite a while ago now. And we saw Elton Julian in the 036 car running very, very well. He'd led for quite a long time, was running in 2nd place. And we saw him pulled off to the side of the road. We gather there was contact there with one of the BMWs that resulted in an off-course excursion for Elton Julian. So shame for him. But young Dane Cameron, boy, it's great to see this guy have an opportunity to drive a proper sports car, because an open wheel, an open cockpit sports car, he's a great talent. He won the Star Mazda Championship 2 or 3 years ago. He's driving in the Rolex series with Dempsey Racing, with Patrick Dempsey, but now he's got his opportunity with Genoa Racing and Tom Knapp and Angelo Ferro, and he's taking full advantage of it, doing a magnificent job. A great pole position yesterday, and now comfortably out in front.
Yeah, comfortably, and well inside the top 10. I mean, okay, he's got Dindo Capello and Romain Dumas coming back through the field in the 2 previously problem-stricken Audis, so he might lose a couple of positions, but beyond that, who else has he got? Oh, Lucas Lure in the 06 Muscle Milk car. He could be
coming back.
Yeah, it is. He could still be around the bottom end of the top. Somebody spun there, off to the right, and that's one of the level 5 cars, I think, that's off to the driver's right, coming out of the Le Mans corner onto the back straight. Furiously waved red, yellow flags there.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, was it?
It is one of the P2 cars, indeed. Good spot, Jeremy.
2nd place in P2, 19th overall. He's currently, 3 laps behind the sister car, the coupe of Scott Tucker and the Christophe Beauchou. Still 2nd place. He hasn't lost that position. He's still a long way ahead. I'm not even sure whether there are any more cars. And the Signatech Nissan, I don't think that's still running, is it?
Gearbox problems, I'm afraid, for those guys. Although Lucas Ordonez, the gamer cum driver, did get to take a chance at the wheel and drive around this historic circuit. There are your class leaders on the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. Matthew Marsh in the Magnus Racing 77 car. Nobody moving here at Sebring. We are 5 hours and 24 minutes into what has already been an action-packed Sebring, and everyone is trackside watching. I know that we are heard here at the track, so hello to you around the circuits, particularly down at turn 10, making more history this year with an even bigger encampment for the turn 10 massive, I think it's fair to call them. I really like the enthusiasm of everybody we talk to here. And Darren Cox of Nissan telling us that the car is back running again, the Signatech Nissan, 12 laps down. So well done, guys, for getting that one back going. Thank you, Darren. Nissan with the engine supply deal to Signatech in what is a very interesting project there in that 03 Oregon.
Yeah, up and down. We know Signature Racing and
used to be Signature Plus, of course.
Yep. Philip Zeno and the guys. I mean, they're primarily known for their open wheel stuff. They won Formula 3 championships and Macau wins, and all sorts of successes in open wheel racing, but also making their mark very much so in sports car endurance racing as well. It's a very interesting combination now with this Nissan program. It's going to be quite exciting.
Yeah, and Nissan involved in a number of sports car projects, racing again with 4 GTRs in the FIA GT1 World Championships. David Brabham, in fact, will be driving for them, so I hear. Also with the GT3 and GT4 programs with the 370Z over here, including the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, another race that will be out on RadioLeMans.com. There's your leader, Frank Montani, by 14 seconds now over Marino Franchitti. But you know what? The guys in the pits are saying to Marino, don't panic.
That's fine.
It'll come back to us. Keep hitting your marks. Keep the car clean. This is on board with Marino, turning down into the final corner under the Mobil 1 bridge. Old school is what he called. So, both of the Franchitti boys, and I'll put Paul Di Resta in there. And congratulations, by the way, to Dave, Paul Di Resta, for his Formula One drive, thoroughly deserved, DTM champion last year. He's the cousin of Marino and Dario. They are what you would call students of the sport.
Yeah, isn't that right? Yeah, they take great pride in learning more and more about the history of the sport. They just love every aspect of it. And yeah, you'll see Paul di Resta making his Formula One debut next weekend in Melbourne.
Oh yes, well,
that's going to be interesting
to get up for that one early.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
The Dario, of course, defending his IZOD IndyCar Championship next weekend as the opener just over in St. Pete's.
A couple of hours from here only.
Worth looking at. They're still dialing in that car. He wasn't too pleased at the test, I heard. Was it earlier on this week or back into last week? Yeah, didn't quite get the time out of it. And Dario, good enough to give us some time for our IndyCar preview, which will air next week on RadioLeMans.com. Third place P1 is the very familiar shape of the older HDI FAP version of the Peugeots. A little bit of black smoke out of the Peugeot on accelerating there. That's a diesel. It's not supposed to do that. The diesel particulate filters, that's what the FAP stands for. I hope that's not a portent of the sort of problems that they had at Le Mans last year. But that's certainly throwing out a little bit of exhaust smoke. This car, sponsored by an insurance company, of course, just south of Le Mans, Matmut. Le Mans is the centre of the French insurance industry, and Matmut is an insurance company, and it's been described as an insurance policy. The car itself as the for the Peugeots. There's the fourth place car, Guillaume Moreau, 53.6 last time around for the leading Oak Racing Judd. That is fantastic for them. You can tell this one's the 15 because it has the all yellow roll hoops behind the driver's head.
Yellow?
Orange, sorry. Slap me around the head, it's getting late. Getting on for 5.5 hours of racing.
I'm not sure whether your eyes or mine on that one.
No.
Great looking car.
Eyes were fine, it was the mouth that was the problem.
Yeah, boy, I have that problem there, tell you.
Remember what we do for a living. It's scary. Oh, just that Judd engine sound fantastic.
Super to see Judd involved again at the pinnacle of the sports car.
Yep, John Judd and his son Junior.
Yeah, great guys. They work so hard, and they've done a lot of work on developing this car. Here's the Dyson Racing Lola Mazda, running very nicely in fifth place. Guy Smith at the wheel at the moment, and you can see there's a fair amount of traffic.
He's got the whole family over, Guy. So the Brood on when was that, Wednesday morning when we were having our breakfast meeting, and he's very chipper about this year's championship. And here is the 06 Muscle Milk car muscling through, appropriately enough, with Lucas Luhr on board. I think his career has just stalled a little bit, hasn't it? He was well, Lucas Luhr on the timing and scoring monitor. I may be wrong with that. I haven't seen the helmet to be able to tell you.
Oh, isn't it?
We'll have a look next time through. Lucas's career, as I say, just seems to have lost a little bit of momentum, so it's good to see him back in the top flight. He was driving with Muscle Milk, of course, with the Porsche, which he had some experience of, and good to see that Greg Pickett and the rest of the team want to keep him in the loop, despite the fact that they've changed chassis. Now, and this is a new leader.
Yes, it is, in GT, a new leader there. Car number 062, it's Jaime Mello, who has passed Andy Prieur in BMW, so it's Ferrari back out in front in GT. Yeah, by that much.
Look behind.
Yes, Fisichella also has gotten around Dirk Werner. This is very, very interesting.
Well, the rise and fall of the respective fortunes of these top 4, 5, 6 cars are bouncing around like a yo-yo at the moment, and this just bodes so well for the rest of the season and for Le Mans as well in June. I can't wait. Here's the leader, I think, coming through to get through the leading GT cars as well, with the Kelly Moss Racing GTC car. That's Green Hornet coloured car. It's fabulous colour. It looks even better in the green, as it were. It's very green.
That's Andrew Davis at the wheel right now, running in 5th place. They're back on the lead lap and very much in contention, particularly with Andrew Davis at the wheel. Also in GT2, we've seen a change of lead in GTC also the last few laps. Sean Edwards in that NGT Motorsports car 030 is into the lead in GT Challenge, having overtaken Matthew Marsh.
And the 7 Peugeot just getting a sight of that going past the GT leaders. That means that's out of the paddock then. That one's sneaked out. Not sure we mentioned that earlier on. If we didn't, I apologise, and if we did and I've forgotten about it, please bear with me, because we've been talking for 5 hours and 31 minutes and a bit. But well done to the Peugeot team. They've got that car turned around after Stefan Sarazan, of course, it was, who had the incident with Dindo Capella, I think, earlier on. Marc Genet, sorry, earlier on. I think I gave it to Pedro Lamy, who's not even in that car. So that would have been interesting on the insurance form, wouldn't it? So here's the GT leaders going across the line. And that is Pagino, I think, just going by them.
Henri Richard? Was that Henri Richard?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's
not. Or was it Marino?
No, that is Marino, sorry. I'm putting people in and taking out of cars quicker than you could ever do in a pit stop. BMW there in the hands of Andy Priaulx, looking a little bit squirrely.
Yeah, they were looking super strong, weren't they? Yeah, for a while, and now all of a sudden the Ferraris have kind of taken away a little bit of that momentum.
Talked about the front of the 51 car looking a bit battle weary. Look at the front of the leader in the GT category. That's picked up a bit of dirt as well. That hasn't always been between the white lines in the last 5.5 hours. And here comes Fizzy Keller and Andy Priaulx battling
1, 2, 3, 4
with, just in case there's any pieces to be picked up, Dirk Werner sitting in behind there. And I'm looking for the Corvette. There's Beretta. Oh.
The last lap around, it was actually Giancarlo Fisichella, slightly the quickest of those 5 by a couple of hundredths of a second over at Olivier Beretta, but all 5 of them lapping within about a half a second or so. So this is a tremendous battle, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be waved throughout this Mobil 112 hours of Sebring.
Just mention as well that the 017, the Falcon Porsche, the Derek Walker run car now, Brian Sellers at the wheel, still on the lead lap in GT. Now, we were talking earlier on, and I heard you mention this, about the fact that Falcon, in another year of development for them as a brand new race tyre manufacturer, they've come in with the intention of developing their tyres for the street and also to get some customers for their race tyres, learning all the time. They said they think they've got a tyre that's far more consistent throughout the stint, through the life of the tyre and through the life of the fuel load, and 6th position and still on the lead lap would seem to suggest to me that they have done some good work during the close season.
I completely agree with you, John, and the last sort of 10 minutes or so, he's perhaps just dropped off a little bit. His lap times for the last 3 or 4 laps, I've noticed, have probably been a second or 2 off the front runners, as somebody puts a wheel off the road there. Was that the...
That was the leader in GT, and it is slightly, I think, compromised Andy Priaulx, who came out slightly wider than he needed to out of 3, and here comes Fizzy Keller. He's going to have to go Buffalo Gals round the outside into turn 7, and Priaulx's holding in the line on the inside. Forceful driving from a former touring car, and Farfus decides that he'll take the invitation as well. You can tell these guys are used to rubbing and racing in the World Touring Car Championship for BMW, and they have conspired. I think Fizzy Keller's going to be cursing his luck there. He thought he had a chance of going up into 2nd place and ends up down in 4th.
I think he's still learning what it's like to have fenders around you, isn't he, Giancarlo Fizzy Keller? Great move.
Great driving though, clean as a whistle by everybody.
Yep. Hats off those guys. But Brian Sellers, he's still running there, as you say, in 6th place, but closing up on him, and the quickest man in the class in GT at the moment is Jörg Bergmeister, and I think he's...
Is he just on the back of the lead lap as well? Yes, he is.
Yes, he's on the lead lap. Yes. Got a bit of ground yet to make up on the 6th place car of Brian Sellers, but that car is running very strongly indeed now.
So in case you're not taking notes, that's the top 7 cars in GT still on the lead lap and within just over a minute of each other, thereabouts.
Yeah, not far off halfway through this race. Well, what, 5 hours and 36 minutes gone already, so yeah, we're a long way into this motor race. Look how close these cars still are. Fabulous.
Yeah, but endurance racing has no excitement, remember that.
That's right.
Yeah. Come and talk to me after 20 hours of the 24 hours of Le Mans, and I'll tell you there's still plenty of excitement there.
The gap from first to second overall, we're on board now with Dindo Capello. He's in 9th place at the moment. His last lap around was a 1:54. Romain Dumas, who's I think he's still a 1 lap farther back, was a 1:52. The race leader, Frank Montagny, was a 1:52.4. Marino Franchitti in 2nd place for HBD did a 1:53.1. And actually the fastest lap on that time around was Olivier Panis in 3rd place, who ran a 1:52.114. We've seen the Corvettes are moving themselves back into contention in GT, and Jamie Howe is in the pits with one of the drivers.
One of the newest drivers to the Corvette Racing stable is young Tommy Milner. Now, Tommy, you're no stranger to Sebring. You've raced here 5 times. This year is your 6th, but it's your first time with Corvette. What do you think?
It's cool, for sure. Yesterday was a lot of fun with the autograph session. If you've been to an ALMS race, you see how long the line is for Corvette racing, and it's cool to be a part of that. I signed 3 or 4 cars yesterday, so the first thing that Rick, the PR guy for Corvette, told me was, you know, are you ready to be a rock star? And I said, yeah, I'm ready. So I'm having fun right now. The race is crazy. I mean, the driving is definitely aggressive, you know, early on in the race, but it's settling out a little bit. You can still see there's a lot of racing going on still, but I mean, a long way to go. Our car's good. We're running 4th or 5th right now. Pace is good, so just gonna pound away.
You've been a long-time driver of the BMWs. Your family's been involved with BMW Motorsports. There's a lot of GT cars out there, though. How do you handle all of that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are a lot of GT cars, and with the way the yellow flag rules are now, I mean, it's hard to really sort of gain a lot on other cars. And in the same breath, it's easy to not lose a lot. As we saw, the 4-car C6R lost some laps there with the accident, but they're right back on the lead lap again, and they're going to be in the hunt there at the end too, for sure.
Well, it's definitely great to see a young American driver with this American machine. Good luck today.
Thanks, Jamie.
25 years of age is Tommy Milner. He's from Virginia and lives in Florida, I think, these days. But yeah, he's a great young talent, and as you can see there, a personable young man. He really puts his heart and soul into his racing, and he's just loving this opportunity now with GM Corvette Racing, and he's very much looking forward to getting back behind the wheel of that 03 car. It's Olivier Beretta driving it right now. There is the car coming into the turn 7 hairpin. On board again now with Olivier Beretta. And the gap between himself and Giancarlo Fisichella, we can't quite see him out of the front window of this car. It's about 4 seconds, so he's actually lost a little bit of ground over the last couple of laps. But let's just take a look, a run on board with this car, and we'll see how the traffic unfolds. There'll be cars coming past him. He'll be making moves on other cars as well. And we'll go down to the BMW camp. We've seen this fabulous battle between the Ferraris, the BMWs, and the Corvettes, and the other marques as well. And let's go back down to the pit lane.
And the 56 BMW has been in the thick of it. Joey Hand watching on. First of all, Joey, what do you think about this battle between these manufacturers and GT?
Well, I think it's the way it should be. You know, this is racing. This is why we always do it. You know, but you know, our BMW is strong right now. It was very comfortable out there. I was comfortable, and that's always a good thing.
Speaking of manufacturers, BMW won the Manufacturers Championship last year, and some people might be a little bit surprised that they still went ahead and built some new cars for you guys. But where have you seen the biggest advantage in this new BMW?
I think the biggest thing over the winter was these BMW Motorsport guys, the Ray Hall Letterman Atlanta guys. You give them enough time to work out all these things, and they come with a better product, you know, and that's what happened. We took everything we learned last year that we couldn't quite get on top of, and they put it all in this new car, and mainly on setup and balance and stuff like that. That's what it's all about. And then Dunlop's got us good tires again, and you know, I think it's just a great team effort. We, as a team, are just gelling. We're in our 3rd year. We're getting stronger and stronger. The driver lineup does. The engineering lineup, you know, going back and forth. So, you know, I'm just always happy to be driving a BMW M3. I'm glad we got some Dunlop tires that are going good, and I think we got a real good shot at this.
We've seen the 55 and 56 back-to-back around the track. How much communication goes on between these two cars?
Not any, really. I mean, there's not a lot. There's no team orders. You would think there would be, but there honestly isn't. And we want to win. I mean, everybody wants to win here. Bobby Rahal's on my box here talking to me, and we got Scott Remke down there talking to those guys. And you know, we're going hard to win. I'm not giving in to those guys. I plan on, if I finish this race, I will race them like they're not a teammate almost. You know, we can't touch each other. That's what they say. We can't touch each other.
We look forward to seeing you back out there. Thanks, Joey.
Thanks.
Team orders from Mr. Rahal will be, don't crash into each other. That's the only kind of team orders that will be given out from that. Joey Hand down there in the pit lane. Great stuff with the BMW. Second and third at the moment. Andy Prior and Dirk Werner in the 56 and 55 cars respectively.
Yeah, so they've lost Giancarlo Fisichella back into fourth place in that class. So, you know, there's constant shuffling, and as you can see now again, Andy Prior beginning to close in once again on Jaime Mello.
Yeah, traffic's playing a part in that, but it also seems to be where they are in the fuel cycle, where they are in the tyre cycle, and some of these cars not pristine. You can see that, you know, that accident earlier on for the 55 car has left its mark on the left front. There's a part of the front splitter missing. We know, of course, the 56 car had its problems as well. So, you know, these cars are going to be battle worn by the time we move into the second half of the race. So it's just after 12 minutes past the hour. Time for us to catch up on what's been going on. If you are just joining us on ESPN3.com. At the start of the race, it was Peugeot at the green. And out they went into the lead from pole position. Alan McNish made the first big move at the first corner and dropped into second place ahead of Mike Rockenfeller. Great racing in GT2. Well, we kind of expect that, don't we? The pole man lost out at the start to Ollie Gavin in the Chevy Corvette. But Jimmy Bruni decided he couldn't leave it that way for quite that long. And up into turn 1, 2 and 3, he bumped and barged his way back into the lead. McNish on a restart, getting a little bit of love tap from a Peugeot. Was the door slammed, wasn't it? Certainly was. Mike Rockenfeller had 2 punctures. Carbon fibre and something hanging from the car. The causes of that, the car now back up into 10th position. And then the big accident, battle at the head of the GT field between Pat Long and Jan Magnussen. Johannes van Overbeek, the man who arrived on the scene at exactly the wrong place and the wrong time in the ESM Ferrari. The 038 car has had its problems as well. Watch this. Oh, the hands off the steering wheel. There's a certain sense of inevitability, and it's 3 wheels on my wagon for that LMPC Challenger. The GMC Porsche didn't have a great day either. The barbecue lit slightly too early. I'll have mine medium rare, thank you. Dindo Capello and the Peugeot. Oh dear, oh dear. Put both of those cars behind the wall. And it's been the Dindo Capello up to 9th position. That didn't bring out a caution, but this did. Elton Julian, we think, hit by one of the GT cars earlier in the lap. Certainly seemed to have a lack of steering there in some way, shape or form, and a very bizarre, relatively low speed accident. So it's Frank Montani leading from Marino Franchitti. It's the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida.
There was a town held captive by an evil gas pump. It fed on people's hard-earned money. But along came the Michelin Man, who reminded them the right tire changes everything. And with fuel-efficient tires in place, that evil gas pump wasn't so evil anymore. Michelin Energy Saver AS tires can help save up to 109 gallons of fuel. Michelin, a better way forward.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
The aerial shots giving us a fabulous view from the Porsche Helicam of the 3.7-mile circuits here at Sebring International Raceway. John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw for ESPN3.com. As we're looking at the opening of the 2011 International Sports Car season with the ALMS and the ILMC, the new ILMC, the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, together for this classic race. And what great racing we've had in the first almost 6 hours. We've got Frank Montani leading Marino Franchitti, or if you prefer, that's Peugeot. New Peugeot at that, with the smaller V8 TDI engine, or diesel engine, excuse me, HDI engine for Peugeot. And Marino Franchitti in the heavily revised 01. This is the Acura. It was the champion of the American Le Mans Series last year, effectively a P2 car then. But other than the tub, the central monocoque chassis, it's pretty much all new. New wishbones front and rear to accommodate a wider track and bigger wheels, a different minimum weight limit, and clearly the same results, quite frankly, because Highcroft, after being a little uncertain about their plans for this season, to be brutally honest, have come out. They've got their entry for the Le Mans 24 confirmed, and we hope to see them across in France in June, here to defend their championship if they can. But a good showing today, Jeremy, would really do them well, and carrying some new Michelin sponsorship as well. The new Supersport Pilot tyre being advertised on the side of that car. Indeed, and it's kind of a toe, a foot, an ankle, even a knee in the water for Honda and Acura and HBD, because they want to be involved in LMP1, but it's got to make sense for them. They've got to know that they have an opportunity to battle with the turbo diesels at the front of the field. Well, more than just those cars racing, let's go down to GTC, the GT Challenge. These are all Porsches, of course. Craig Stanton in fourth position, one of, if not the fittest driver in the paddock. My goodness me, he works so hard for the Magnus Racing team and for anyone he drives for. Fourth position at the moment for that car. In third, a little bit further up the road there, Jeremy doing pointing in the booth. That is Alan Lee in the Adobe Road Racers Group car. That then is a battle for position as they come out of the hairpin. Third spot and a place potentially on the podium for these two cars. I would think, Jeremy, that Craig Stanton will overhaul Alan in a relatively short space of time. With due respect to Alan, he hasn't got the experience or indeed the speed of Craig behind him. No, he's very much a gentleman driver. He's got a lot of experience in Porsche. Certainly he's been doing the Asia Carrera Cup for many, many years. He's driven all sorts of different cars. He drove at Macau last year in an Audi R8. But, he wouldn't consider himself on the same sort of level even as Craig Stanton, who's, very definitely a professional driver. Alan would not claim to be that, but he's a great guy, Alan Lee. He's from Hong Kong, but he's lived all over the world, very an international character, and no mean driver, as we can see right here. Well, and Craig goes to get line. Yeah, well, he's trying to get a big run onto the back straight, isn't he? These GT3 cars, because they're not as wide-bodied as, for example, the blue Porsche you can see in the bottom left of the picture, they actually cut a pretty decent swathe through the air, and in some places like Mosport and here down the back Ullman Straight at Sebring, they can actually be faster than the GT2 cars. Now, behind that battle that we were watching, but ahead of them on the track by almost a full lap, here is your GTC class leader. And that is Sean Edwards driving that car. That is the car that was heavily damaged yesterday in the incident, and they replaced just about everything on it. I spoke to Sean just before the start of the race. He drove the car in the warm-up, did a handful of laps. He said, it isn't the same car as we had yesterday. It's not quite as good. But they've done a great job, and they've come all the way back, and they're running up the front here. Not the only car who has had problems this week. What about the GMG Racing Porsche? that is in an X engine. Look carefully, you'll see the oil pouring out at the back. That's a very unusual failure. Now, this was one of the favourites. Pole sitter Lee Keane put the car on pole, but one of his teammates, I'm afraid, hit the master switch by accident over the bumps here at Sebring and dead stick the car. It came back into pit lane, and how frustrating, fired up straight away once the master switch was reset.
Yeah, but lost several laps by doing that, and that's going to be very costly in this GT, very hotly contested GT Challenge category. But what a super job Sean Edwards has done. It's his first run in the American Le Mans Series. He's a lot of experience in Porsches, and here he is in the ALMS.
Frank Montani, Christophe Bouchou, Dane Cameron, Jamie Miller and Sean Edwards are the class leaders for the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida. So from third position, Olivier Panis brings the Orica Matmut Peugeot in along pit lane. It'll be his turn to get out. He's done a double stint. Pace has fallen off just a little bit. He was leading the race. There's the action in the pit lane, and there indeed is the Peugeot, having completed its pit stop. Nicolas Lapierre's helmet. Oh, is that just a tear off on the screen? No, that is Lapierre that is behind the wheel with the red, white and blue helmet as he heads back out onto the circuit with a new full tank of diesel fuel and a new set of Michelin tyres. He should have held on, I think, to third position, because Guillaume Moreau not quite close enough to take advantage of that pit stop in the first of the petrol-powered cars, P1 bis as we call it, at Le Mans. As also into the pit lane is Frank Montani, and he's followed in by Romain Dumas. So this is the leader, the leading Peugeot, and the leader of the race, Jamie Howe.
Pretty standard pit stop going on right now. The crew cleaning off the windscreen so that Frank Montani can't see where he's going. The cars on the windows get just as dirty as everything else on the car. So you can imagine what a nightmare that can be in the daylight sun. Audi is right behind them as well. Fuel still going into both of these machines right now, both running on clean diesel. And it looks like they were nearly empty. This is a long stop, and the Peugeot is out and underway. No tires for the Peugeot. However, the Audi is taking tires, so they're going to be on pit road just a little bit longer.
Down in 8th position for Romain Dumas, and the number 1 car is there. Fight back up the field continues. Further back up pit lane, Moreno Franchini's coming out of 2nd position in the Highcroft car, so they're basically shadowing the leaders as Romain Dumas rejoins the race. And up at Highcroft, Kelly Stavist.
And everything other than a quick stall there as Marino Franchitti tries to get out with that Honda-powered Highcroft racing machine. But talking to the team manager, everything's just really going according to plan. As we saw earlier and told you earlier, they just want to stay on the lead lap. So the fact that Simon Pagenaud took advantage of a situation to get around Peugeot was perfect. Now they just want to hang with them and hope the cars play into their hands.
Not sure where that car took tyres there for Moreno Franchitti. It seemed a very, very quick stop. He's just got in the car, so the likely answer is no. Meanwhile, out on the circuit, the 055 car with Luis Diaz, 2nd position in P2. Now, he's got electrical power. As you can see, the headlights are still shining. He's looking in his mirrors, hoping he's not going to get collected by someone in that Level 5 Motorsport 055. And it was indeed fuel only for the 01 car as the caution comes out again, and the boys at Highcroft just have another little grin.
Everybody just made their pit stop moments ago. I mean, literally just moments ago.
But it closes the 25 seconds or whatever it was back up, you know? And they get to cool the tyres down a little bit behind the safety car. So Marino Franchitti doing as Simon Pagenaud did. While the drivers are in the car, they keep the same Michelin tyres. When you change the drivers, you change the tyres. And that has been the rule of thumb, apart from the very first stint when people had laps on the tyres from qualifying, of course. We're here at Sebring for the first round of the American Le Mans Series, which will come to a close at what is rapidly becoming a modern classic, Petit Le Mans, in the first week of October up at Road Atlanta. And between now and then, full coverage of all of the races on ESPN3.com with Jeremy and myself overlooking the action. And if this is the prelude to a season, I'm just going to say bring it on. Really looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. It's been absolutely superb. There is a pace car coming out of the pit lane. And he will, there he is. He pulled that right in front of the race leader. That is Frank Montani in car number 8. And you can see already several cars lining up behind there. They're including the LMP Challenge leader, Dane Cameron, who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th on the road there. That red and black car, primarily red car, and one of the Audis right behind there as well. So the Audis, after their problems early on, Didier Capello is back up into 7th place. He's still 7 laps behind the race leader, and the other Peugeot also is 7 laps behind, actually. Romain Dumas, he's shown in 10th place, so there's several other cars in between those two, but they are now on the same lap, Capello and Dumas in car numbers 2 and 1. It's going to be awfully difficult. Oh, there comes Capello. Oh, I lied. Capello's just come across the line right now, so he's 6 laps back in car number 2, and Romain Dumas is 1 more lap behind.
So Frank Montani went across the line 45 seconds ahead of Marino, but that, of course, will all close up together. So we'll see that close up.
Greg Pickett is shown as in the pit lane again right now in car number 06. 9th in LMP1. They had some problems early on during their pit stops. We've seen several times they've been unable to refire the car after taking on fuel and taking on service, and that car is still in the pits. It presumably was in the pit lane before the full course caution came out.
Now, just in the background of that shot at the apex of the corner, you can see text Red Cross to 9999. This is the American Le Mans Series, and all the teams are publicising. We're going to get the safety vehicle parked in front of it here, typically, as I'm talking about it. The recent tragic events over the other side of the world in Japan with the tsunami and the earthquake. If you are a US cellular phone subscriber, text the word Red Cross to 9999 for an automatic $10 donation. If you're an international listener to us, or you're on ESPN3.com or ALMS.com, AmericanLeMans.com, watching us, there are other places you can go to. The International Red Cross site will also take your donations, and Highcroft as well have a list of places that you can donate, as our thoughts are with the people of Japan after the tragic events of the last couple of weeks. Red Cross on a text 90999, and thanks to all the teams for carrying the Japan stickers and also the publication of that text number on their cars. Well, there's plenty of support for the 4 rings of Audi, for the prancing horse of Ferrari, and indeed all of the other manufacturers and marques here. The great thing about sports car racing is that you can have a team and go with it. Turn 10 support everybody, absolutely everybody, always have done, and that is one of the better grandstands I've seen them put up there on the far side. Still no one making their way to the concession stands. The racing is just too exciting. Plenty of pictures to be taken, plenty of memories to be had here at the 59th annual Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. And Jeremy, we're no nearer calling a winner now than we were 6 hours ago, as we reach exactly half distance in this race.
Yes, 10 seconds to half distance. There is the Dyson car on pit lane, so that was one of the cars we saw the leaders make a pit stop, a scheduled pit stop right before this caution period, and the Dyson racing car, they are obviously out of fuel. The pits are not yet open officially, so they are allowed to come in to just take a quick splash of fuel and get out again, just to make sure they don't run out on the racetrack. Whoa. Several others as well, including the luxury racing Ferrari F458.
Yeah, this is, I think, a very good idea from IMSA. They recognise the fact that some people may be in distress. Look at the Ferrari, the luxury racing car, right in the middle of the picture there in the pit lane. Oh, well, they're doing a driver change there. And the pit lane was clearly still closed. You saw the flashing red light at the entrance to, at the end of pit lane. So that is a mistake by luxury racing. Jamie?
Luxury Racing, new to the American Le Mans Series. It is their first race, so they just may not be familiar with the American rules right now. This is a little bit different than what they're used to. They're running the sporting regulations here. This looks like it's going to be detrimental because they're going to have to come back through pit lane underneath. Because the pit lanes are closed, they're going to have to come back in under green flag conditions. They're going to lose even more time.
Yeah, clearly at the pit entrance, the LED marker that is there, it has a red central cross. Oh, now there's interesting, because when the 430s first came on the scene, there was troubles with wheel nuts with those as well, and clearly that wasn't tightening up properly. The wheel gun having to work rather too hard. Oh, and now he's pulled it off the airline completely. Someone needs to put a foot on that whilst he reattaches it. Thumb goes up.
We've seen better bits.
I think he may have. Has he broken that? No, he was offered a second airline, but he was already on the car, so no problems.
And now, was certainly Jean-Denis Delatrat, I think, getting out of the car.
Look, this, I'm afraid, is now that they've found out the pits were closed. What do you mean the pits were closed? Well, the pits were closed. We shouldn't have come in. That's what the tall chap on the left is saying. Now we're going to get pulled for that and get a stop-go penalty. But everybody else came in. Yeah, but they only came in for a splash of fuel, so we just followed them in. That's what we told them to do. But the pits are closed, he's saying. The red thing's still flashing at the end of the pit lane. So I'm afraid that car, and they're still flashing, the pits are still closed. So what I'm looking at there, on the left of the screen, the red cross with the red flashing lights around the exterior of it, pits are closed. There it is. It doesn't come more simple than that. Thank you. Is that still Gavin on the camera at the far end of the pits? Gavin, thank you very much indeed. You've done great work over the weekend, as all of our cameramen and women. Camera people, I suppose, cameramen and women. I like it better that way. They've all done great work this weekend, and they're out in the elements, which are fine, but very, very hot out there. So make sure you keep yourselves hydrated, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're working for us or whether you're watching the race.
And as we can see from that flag there, and the tent blowing around earlier on, it's pretty breezy out there. Certainly much more breezy than it's been, I think, for the better part of this week.
Now we've got the safety vehicles moving down the course.
Signatech Nissan going through there as well.
Yeah, that car with a bit of gearbox problems earlier on, but now back in the fray. Has it made its way back up onto the first two scoring screens is the question. It has not, I don't think, Jeremy, has it? There were about 15 laps to that down. So Montani, having had 45 seconds of a lead, now has this man, Marino Franchitti, 4 seconds behind him in the queue. And what, 3-4 cars maybe, something like that.
We talked about GT Challenge a few minutes ago and the fact there were 4 cars on the lead lap. Well, Alan Lee just got lapped by Sean Edwards right before that caution. We saw him catching up, didn't we? And we saw here Sean Edwards made that pass just before the caution came out. So now it's only 3 cars on lead lap in GT Challenge. That's the 030, the 054. Tim Pappas at the wheel, the team owner there, Black Swan Racing, and Craig Stanton in the 077 for Magnus Racing.
Now, we're on full course caution because one of the level 5 cars ground to a halt, and that clearly wouldn't tow, because I've just seen it on the back of the flatbed there from Dindo Capello's onboard camera. So there was maybe a gearbox problem, maybe something seized up on that car, but it wouldn't take a tow, and it's had to be loaded onto the back of a flatbed, black prototype. So Dindo Capello heading down into turn number 7. On board with the Chevy Corvette. Chevy, of course, in the GT category. They're racing on Sunday, well, Saturday here, and hopefully selling on Monday. But how close are the street cars to the race cars? Well, nowadays, much closer than you'd think. And the transfer of technology from one to the other comes in some very high-tech and interesting ways, as Taj Yukhta has been telling us earlier on in the week.
Well, the Z06 Carbon has more carbon fiber than any other Corvette. You can get a Z06 Carbon that has a hood, front fenders, All the aero, the front splitter and the rocker extensions are all what we call Class A, so visible carbon fiber right on the surface, extremely smooth finish. And then underneath that, a lot of the structural composites are also carbon fiber. It represents the best track-to-street tech transfer we know how to do, and it's the most track-oriented vehicle we produce on Corvette. People ask me, why do you have to race Corvettes? And I tell them it's in our DNA. We have to. Part because of the tech transfer, but it's really a stamp of approval, of authority. If you can win on the track, that validates the performance of a sports car.
It was and remains America's sports car, the 06 Carbon. And I'd love one, but I think they've already all been taken, to be quite honest. I think we might be joining a very long waiting list. Well, again, you know, just racing improves the breed. The technology in the prototypes perhaps a little more difficult to see in terms of trickling down to street cars, but things like FSI technology, fuel stratified injection from Audi, you know, came to you from Le Mans. And the diesel technology that Peugeot and Audi are using, tyre technology all the time. Here now, 3, maybe 2 years only away on your street car. And the Pilot Supersport in particular, using very much motorsport technology on street tyres.
So the pits are now open for prototype cars to come into the pit lane. We saw the leaders pit just before the caution, so no need for them to come in. But one of the Audis there, the number 2 Audi, currently running in 7th place, Dindo Capello, he is on pit lane and coming up here for service. And there's no tyres up on the wall that I could see. Yes, there are.
Yeah, the changing drivers, so the tyres will come out. So there is Dindo Capello getting out of the car. And meantime, the 7 Peugeot's in as well. Nice split screen. We see 2 pit stops at the same time. Remember the 7 Peugeot being behind the wall. These were the 2 cars that came together in turn 17, sent them both behind the wall. And Jamie Howe is at Peugeot.
Peugeot still performing service on the car. They're taking fuel tires. Looked like a driver change as well. The number 2 Audi beat them out of pit lane. But it was a little strange watching the Audi stop because they took fuel and tires as well, and they weren't finished with the driver change by the time that they were finished. Peugeot still on pit road. Tires going on right now, but Kelly Savas is down with Lucas Lohr.
Well, and we saw his muscle milk Aston Martin make a lengthy pit stop when Lucas got out of the car, and what we heard was that there was some contact out there between you and a BMW. We didn't get a chance to look at it. Can you tell us what happened?
It's just coming around turn 16, and I had to dive into one of the BMWs. Everything was fine, and then on the way out, there was a slower car and yellow flag, so I wanted to let him by again, and he hit me in the back, so I think it was just a race incident, you know, a little misunderstanding, but we have a little bit of a tough day, you know. First of all, we were suffering a little bit with some battery issues. Now we had to do a longer stop because the gearbox temperature was a little high, so hopefully that's it now in trouble-wise for today.
You've been around this sport so long and been with some of the greatest teams in sports car racing. With the time that you've had in this Aston Martin, when things are running smoothly, do you really see a potential for this car?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was in my stint, I was a long time behind one of the Audis, and I could keep up with them. It's just, you know, it's like the Aston is like a little baby. There's a little bit here, a little bit there, and if we can sort this out, which I'm really sure the Muscle Milk team will do in the future, then the car is, for sure, it's good.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you.
There is the car back out on track, and it is currently shown in, what place? 20th place now, with Greg Pickett, the team owner, back out the wheel, as Lucas Lohr said, and you know, they've had some problems, but you know, Lucas, he's got a massive amount of experience. He's won all sorts of championships, particularly in the American Le Mans Series. He's been very kind to me. He's a lot of wins here, right on this racetrack at Sebring over the years, primarily in GT cars, but he's thoroughly enjoyed this again, this opportunity to get back behind the wheel of a proper prototype. He drove for Audi in an LMP1 car for several years and was dropped from that team a year or so ago. Here's some pit stops though for the GT leaders. Top 3 cars at least are all on pit lane. I'm showing that Giancarlo Fisichella, the 4th place car, did not pit, but all the others are in the pit lane, and Jamie Howe is in the BMW pit.
The number 56 and 55, both cars are in pit road right now. They're doing a driver change in both cars as well, getting the cars cleaned up, ready for battle. The interesting thing here right now is they're also changing tire compounds. I said as the track is warmed up, they need to go to a little bit of a harder compound. They're still on. They have several different variations of a hard. So they have about 5 different sets that they can choose from. They're going a little bit stiffer on this one. And it looks like the 55 car, quicker stop for them. They beat their 56 car teammates out of pit road. They're going to go out first.
That was a very quick stop indeed for the number 55 car. As you can see there, the 56 pulling out also ahead of Jamie Mello. So the Risi Competizione Ferrari falls from first in class to at least third and probably fourth, because I'm pretty sure Giancarlo Fisichella did not pit in car number 51. I'm certainly surprised by that, because I thought these guys were all pretty much on the same strategy. So why the AF Corsa team elected not to bring Giancarlo Fisichella onto pit lane, we'll have to wait and see. Olivia Beretta also making a stop for Corvette, and Brian Sellers in the Falcon Tire Porsche 017, run now by Walker Racing. Derek Walker's crew there taking over the running of that car this year, and high expectations as this season progresses. And certainly in the early stages of this race, well, the halfway at this stage, we just passed that a few minutes ago, that car running very, very nicely. They've done exactly what they wanted to do, keep on the lead lap, running there in 6th place, turning consistent lap times. And Brian Sellers, the young American driver, is doing a fine job at the wheel of that car. He's sharing it, of course, with Wolf Hensler and another factory driver, Martin Raginger, but Brian Sellers very much keeping up his end of the stick. And Jamie Howe has more in pit lane.
I had a great chat with Derek Walker earlier in the weekend. Mentioned he's running that Falcon Tire program now. He said, you know, from the outside, you don't realize how much actually goes into these sports car programs. He had been an IndyCar guy for years and years and years. He wanted to get into sports cars, never had the chance. And now that he's here, he said, I thought that it was going to be just a, you know, we get the car from the manufacturer and it's ready to race. And he said, it's a great car. It is ready to race, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of components that the teams build and perfect themselves. And he said, this has been a lot of work.
Yeah, this is not spec racing, Mr. Walker. You've got to go out and engineer a car again, but his guys and he has not forgotten how to do that. So the 62 car, the 062 car, dropping down after a slightly tardy pit stop. Here are the class leaders. Frank Montani leads Marino Franchitti at the Mobil 1, 12 hours of Sebring.
There was a town held captive by an evil gas pump. It fed on people's hard-earned money. But along came the Michelin Man, who reminded them the right tire changes everything. And with fuel-efficient tires in place, that evil gas pump wasn't so evil anymore. Michelin Energy Saver AS tires can help save up to 109 gallons of fuel. Michelin, a better way forward.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
The Mobil 1 12 hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida, here on ESPN3.com with Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhoff. Good to have your company this afternoon, wherever you are in the world or around the circuit here at Sebring International Raceway. We are into the second half by about 14 and a half minutes as we're just coming to the end of this current full course caution. Frank Montani leading for Peugeot by, well, the distance of 3 or 4 cars behind the Jaguar XKR safety car. That is your leader, the dark blue and white Peugeot. Between himself and Marino Franchitti, who's second in the Highcroft car, there's one of the level 5 cars. There's a Genoa Racing machine. There's a couple of other LMP2 cars, and I think that's Marino there. Yes, it is. So what? There's 5 cars between first and second, and I'm pretty certain that the guys in between will have been So one of the Audis in between there as well, by the look of it. Yes, it is. As Montani puts the right foot right to the bulkhead. And the new 3.7 V8 HDI takes the green flag, and we're back racing again here at Sebring. Nice restart by Montani. Eases to a 5.1 second lead over Marino Franchitti in second place. Nicolas Lapierre not that far away from Marino as we're watching the number 1 Audi with Romain Dumas on board, taking its restart and going through the traffic down in 9th position. And laps down on the leader now with problems early on. Both Audis have had far from a trouble-free run. As Marino Franchitti dives down the inside of the Genoa Racing and the Level 5 Motorsports prototypes into turn number 7. Meantime, in GT, Ferrari and BMW are battling as well. Little bit of smoke again from the Oreca Matmut Peugeot. Good to see the Signatech Nissan back out on the circuit after it's 3 wide into turn 10, and it's the Matmut car that just about squeezes through. Also coming through there, Neil Yarni, the Swiss driver in the Rebellion, powered by Toyota, this Lola Coupe, the gold and black car. BMW versus Ferrari in GT. And that is Dirk Muller in 3rd place, being chased down by Tony Villander. Slightly further up the field, Dirk Werner, his teammate in the 55 car, is trying to get after Pierre Caffer, who is the red Ferrari just disappearing out of our picture there. Martin Ragging is another 10 seconds further back down in the Falcon car, but holding on to the back end of the leading quartet of GT machinery. Jörg Bergmeister fighting back for Flying Lizards. There's the first 4. Oh, marvellous stuff. Oh, look at the debris being thrown around from underneath the Robertson Racing car, and then the leading Ferrari hit it as well. This is the restart in the GT category, and look how close it was at the head of the field. Dirk Muller and the Ferrari, absolutely, oh my goodness me, that must have been so close to touching. And no wonder the front end of that Ferrari is so dirty. So Tony Villander then in that Ferrari of Houston 062 Risi car. If you are just joining us, it might bear repeating that that Ferrari was delivered to the team a week ago today. It turned its first wheel here on the test day. No shakedown, no owner's manual, no rebuild and restrip and put it back together again. And we've got a problem down at the hairpin. Someone's locked up massively right in front of this battle. I think it was one of the Jaguars that was struggling there in the group of GT cars ahead of this BMW battle. It was indeed. This is the car that had contact with the BMW earlier on, the 98 RSR XKRR. Just caught that. You see HD, and you see so much more even on the TV monitors. There's the smoke that I saw earlier on, and the bodywork is pushing back onto the front right Dunlop tyre, new for this year with Jaguar, the Dunlop tyres. And the bad news is when that stops, that's Kenny Wilden, who's behind the wheel of that car, 11th in the GT category. When the smoke stops, it means you're about to have a puncture. That's a decent fight back by that crew, to be quite honest, but that is not going to stay out there very much longer. He's going to have to come in and have that bodywork prized away or racer taped away from that front right-hand wheel.
Yeah, I think the other car had a problem quite a long time ago. You just see at the front of the picture there, the 045 Flying Lizard car with the yellow band across the windscreen. That is shown now as a lap down, so I fancy the 045 car must have made a pit stop right before that caution and lost a lap.
Correct. Now BMW's going side by side as they come across the line. Which way are you going to go? Left, right, middle? The Robertson Racing Ford GT is the target as the BMWs are once again hunting in packs And look at the Ferrari behind that. He's in a battle for position. Big lock up there by Dirk Werner, and Dirk Muller is trying to cover his teammate but hold his own position. The Corvette's right in there as well, and that's Tommy Milner, the new signing over the winter months to Chevy Corvette. And he knows all about BMWs, knows their strengths and weaknesses. And you just know that he wants to get on terms with them and let his former teammates know that the new team is just as good as the team he's left.
And I'm still here is what he wants to tell them.
Absolutely. Don't remember me. And Pierre Caffer, in amongst all of this, in the AF course at 4:30 Ferrari, and that's important, Jeremy, because that's last year's car. It was supposed to have stopped racing in the top class of GT and GTE, but he has disappeared into the distance.
Jaguar made their way back to pit lane. They did change all 4 tires, replace some of that bodywork, and it's interesting because the bodywork already had the helicopter tape on it, and then they had to cut the tape. That helicopter tape that they put on to fix these race cars is so strong that they couldn't even pull it off, even though the bodywork was broken underneath it. So they spent a little bit of extra time in pit lane, but I think Kelly Savis has more.
Well, we keep talking about how impressive it is for this Risi Ferrari F458 and what a great job it's doing despite how little time they've had to prepare it. Well, one thing that they did to maximize their time, as Mika Sala told me, that